Listen, this one might be long, but trust me, it's important. Most people don't like reading long articles or legal talk, and honestly, that's exactly why some people in power get away with so much. The proof is always in the fine print. So today, we breaking it all the way down. No fluff, no big words, just real talk on what really going on with this CPEP scandal, where over 300 contracts were allegedly renewed just days before an election, with no real cabinet approval to back it up. Too technical? Too boring? Nah, I got you. We making this digestible. Because if this could happen with CPEP, what else flying under the radar? Make sure to drop a comment with your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button because accountability starts with understanding. The Community-Based Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program Company, CEPEP, has claimed that its former board was deceived into controversially renewing the contracts of over 300 contractors days before the general election on April 28th. The company said the renewals were based on a fraudulent misrepresentation that the action was approved by the then cabinet. So picture this. Contracts get extended days before an election, like a midnight party line before the landlord shows up. Now CPEP saying, we was misled. Fraudulent misrepresentation? That's lawyer talk for somebody lie bad. The state company's legal team, led by senior counsel Anand Ramlogan of Freedom Law Chambers, made the major accusation on Monday in an application to strike out a lawsuit brought by the People's National Movement, PNM, on behalf of Laventille-based general contracting company Eastman Enterprise Limited. Ramlogan not playing, man moving to strike out the case entirely. And if you know Trinidad law, once Anand Ramlogan show up in your case, somebody's sweat starting already. The application is expected to be raised on Friday, when High Court Judge Margaret Mohammed considers a separate injunction application from the opposition PNM to stay the recent decision of the current United National Congress, UNC, government to terminate the contracts and block the possible appointment of replacement contractors. Now we have the UNC government saying, y'all contracts null and void, and PNM trying to press brakes with a court injunction. It's a tug of war, and the only people truly hanging in the middle? The small contractors wondering if next month they still getting paid. In the striking out application, CPEP's lawyer Jared Jagru claimed that the discrepancy over cabinet approval was discovered while his client was seeking to respond to Eastman's case, which was filed last week after another case from another affected contractor was withdrawn. So they found out about this mess after trying to prep their legal defense. It's like opening a file and realizing, wait, this contract signed with invisible ink? Attached to the application were affidavits from CPEP's chief executive officer Keith Eddy, its head of legal/corporate secretary Nicole Gopal Singh, and Neela Ramatru, the acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of Public Utilities. So all the big guns had to swear under oath. We didn't know about no cabinet approval. You know it's serious when everybody start dropping affidavits like mixtapes. In his affidavit, Eddy claimed that in March, former CPEP chairman Joel Edwards told him cabinet had approved extending the contracts, originally set to expire in 2026 until 2029. 2026 to 2029? Just so. We leapfrogged 3 whole years of accountability, based on hearsay. He claimed that based on Edwards' representation, a ratification note was prepared and sent via email to the board members for a round-robin approval, which they subsequently granted. You ever hear something more Trini than round-robin email approval? Like a bake and shark, sounds nice till you get food poisoning. Eddy claimed that while he had concerns over the directive, he believed that it was approved by the cabinet led by former Prime Minister Stuart Young. So he had doubts, but still went along with it. That's like seeing rain clouds, feeling the drizzle, and still going beach. I consider that CPEP was duty-bound to implement the decision of the cabinet because it reflected the government's policy and was therefore the express will of the shareholder, he said. Except there was no cabinet approval. That's like saying, God tell me to do it, and God looking back like, big man, I never send that message. Gopal Singh confirmed Eddy's claims over the renewals in her affidavit. So now it's not just one man. Everybody on board admitting they thought it was official. Ramatru, whose ministry replaced the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government as CPEP's line ministry with the change of government, details the steps she took to verify whether there was, in fact, cabinet approval. And what she find? Absolutely nothing. Despite thorough and diligent searches, the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government was unable to find any record of such a cabinet note, she said. So what approval they was working off of? A WhatsApp message? You good to go? Come on. She also stated that she sought further clarification from the Secretary of Cabinet, who confirmed that there was no cabinet note or minute in which the renewals were approved. At this point, it's clear. Somebody move ahead with no paperwork. And in Trinidad, we love a good paperwork drama. Stating that the lack of documentation showed that there was no cabinet approval, Ramatwu said, "This is important because cabinet would have needed to approve these extensions, as the extensions would necessitate allocation of funding for the next 4 years out of the yearly budget for these contractors." Translation: this wasn't small money. For years' worth of funding pushed through with no signature from cabinet. Imagine trying that at a regular job. "Yeah, boss, I gave myself a 3-year raise. Trust me, it's approved." She also stated that the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance had confirmed to her that the cabinet approval was required for the extensions. So now we have 2 ministries backing the claim. No approval ever existed. Jagru stated that the company would be reporting what it uncovered to the Fraud Squad and the Anti-Corruption Bureau of the TNT Police Service to determine whether such could result in charges for fraud and misconduct in public office. When the Fraud Squad step in, you know it getting hot. This not just a court matter now. It's potentially a criminal investigation. The CEPEP board was clearly laboring under a serious misapprehension as a result of this fraudulent misrepresentation and extended the contracts on the false premise that it was implementing and executing a cabinet decision, Jagru said. Translation: the board get horn. Plain and simple. In the premises, the court has no jurisdiction or should not exercise any jurisdiction which it may have in this matter, he added. That's legalese for. This case shouldn't even make it to trial. Guardian Media contacted Edwards to respond to Eddie and Gopal Singh's claims over his alleged assurance of cabinet approval. Edwards declined to comment on whether he gave the assurance or whether former Rural Development and Local Government Minister and current opposition Senator Faris Al-Rawi had indicated such to him. "I would not respond because I have been advised not to speak on this matter since it is a matter before the courts," Edwards said. AKA, I plead the fifth. Not a good sign when nobody want to talk. Al-Rawi also refused to comment on the issue when contacted yesterday. Silence all around. But you know who not silent? CEPEP contractors who want to know if they still getting a check. In addition to the approval issue, Jagru also stated that Eastman's case should be rejected by the court without a trial, as its contract with CEPEP contained a clause directing the parties to engage in mediation and arbitration to resolve disputes between them, such as the termination. So now the argument is, not only was this fraudulent, but Alia didn't even follow the steps you agreed to in your own contract. As a precondition to bringing this claim, the parties have agreed to first exercise and or exhaust these 2 alternative dispute resolution mechanisms before a viable and justiciable claim could be brought in the High Court, Jagru said. Basically, Eastman jumping the gun. Mediation first, court after. Not court first, court second, and court again. It would be inappropriate and improper for the court to allow the claimant to breach and or bypass the mandatory alternative dispute resolution mechanisms they agreed to and entertain this claim. Facts. You signed to go mediation first, go mediation first. Simple. In the substantive case, Eastman is contending that CEPEP acted unlawfully in terminating the contracts based on a directive from the current cabinet led by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. We now got cabinet versus cabinet. Past governments say extend, new governments say cancel. Somewhere in the middle, a contractor just trying to get paid and plan his week. It claims that CEPEP was required to immediately pay it for 1 month's service as it sought to terminate, based on Clause 15 of the contract, without giving notice. So now it's a money argument. If you fire me suddenly, you owe me 1 month pay. Sounds fair, but the clause allows CEPEP to terminate by giving 30 days notice or making a payment in lieu of notice if the company fails to meet its contractual obligations or performance assessments conducted by CEPEP officials. Here's where it gets technical. If CEPEP had just paid up front, this whole thing might have been avoided. But if the clause unfair, that's another headache. It alleged that while it was promised that the payment would be processed and dispensed when CEPEP notified the company of the termination, the payment should have been made together with the termination letter. So Eastman says, don't send me a breakup text with IOU. Run my funds. It is also contending that the clause is unfair and in breach of the Unfair Contract Terms Act 1985, as it gave CEPEP too wide a discretion to terminate. Eastman throwing every legal dart they could find. But when you already bypass mediation, the judge might not even hear all this. Eastman is being represented by Larry Lalla, SC, Kareem Marcel, and St. Clair O'Neill, heavyweights on both sides. So no matter how this play out, it'll make news again. So now the question is, who lied, who knew, and who getting charged? CEPEP contracts not supposed to be surprise birthday gifts. These are public funds, millions of dollars, and people's livelihoods on the line. We need answers. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're tired of political mix-up messing with real people jobs. And if you ever try send a CEPEP application, but still waiting on a callback, let me know your thoughts below. Was this politics as usual or something deeper? Either way, we watching.